Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. This time we've got the pleasure of watching Robo Player 1 playing in the brand new OHO. This is the Tier 8 Japanese heavy tanks and I want to focus on them for a while. They're fresh and I want to just get you guys as many videos as I can on the Japanese heavies to explain what the strengths and the weaknesses are, how you can take them out effectively, and also so we can bask in the fantastic games that you guys, my epic community, have been having in these new monstrosities. So the OHO it's 2 tiers higher than the Big Mama video that you saw me put out a few days ago. Now the frontal armor has gone up from 150mm to 200, but considering that you've actually jumped up 2 tiers, I'd say the armor is probably worse tier for tier, especially if you don't get into a nice matchup like we have seen Robo Player 1 get into today, where he is half of the team are top tier, tier 8, and the other half are tier 7. Well, that's pretty nice matchmaking. But there are no artillery as well, so it doesn't even matter if he's on this very open sand river map. He doesn't have to worry about the artillery taking some huge chunks out of his armor with their high explosive rounds. So as I said, 200mm of all-round armor at the front of this tank. 150mm at the back. Don't shoot this thing in the turret in this area here, otherwise you're probably going to bounce. Shoot it in the lower hull. If you do have the side of this tank, it's nice and easy. It's about 105mm all around there for you to be able to go through. So, Robo Player 1 is actually using the same gun that a lot of players use on the Tier 6, this 150mm gun. Now, he fired a high explosive round to start, then he fired a heat round, those expensive heat rounds, and now he's going back to the high explosive round. Can he finish off the KV-3? Yes, he can. 181 damage done there with the second high explosive round. So you might be wondering, oh, surely if it's the same gun that's on the Tier 6, isn't it going to have catastrophic problems with the penetration? And yes, it kind of does. Even in a nice matchup like this, I really feel that the 150mm is going to struggle to be able to reliably do significant hits to its opponents. When he did 175 damage to that Black Prince shrugs, doesn't really care. And then the reload on this tank is still significant. But not quite as significant as it is on the Tier 6, as he one-shots that T-71, that Tier 7 American light tank. And that's because when you choose to use the 150mm on this tank, which is 2 tiers higher than when you can first use the 150mm, you get a massive rate of fire boost. It goes up by 50%. So that gives this machine the same kind of rate of fire as you would have on an ISU-152. And if you're able to penetrate, you're going to be doing just as much DPM as you would be on a Tier 8 Soviet tank destroyer. But what's the problem with the gun? Well, it's still only got that 75mm of penetration with its high explosive round, even though it can do 910 damage if you manage to penetrate. And it has heat rounds that do 150mm of penetration. And when it does hit lower tier tanks like that poor Tier 6 American tank destroyer, the Hellcat, you're going to be in for a very bad day. So the gun handling is slightly better on this tank. When you're using this 150mm on the Tier 8, you've got better aim time, better accuracy, which allows you to pull off clutch shots like that. And you still got that very thick armor that can bounce the 100mm gun that object 416 is likely to be using, which has got 200mm of penetration here. The OHO took it like it was nothing. He's reloaded a heat round here. 150mm of penetration through the side of that Tier 8 premium Chinese medium tank, taking 708 damage off him, shunting him a little bit. But look at the problem with the gun depression on the OHO. He physically has to turn the tank to the side and reverse it up a ridgeline to be able to shoot this low profile Type 59. And there we go. Good hit there. Well played. Very good play there by Robo Player 1. He's obviously very experienced with tanks with this poor gun depression. By reversing your tank up, you point your gun downwards, so even if you do have poor gun depression, you can still make it work. A clutch shot there into the Black Prince deals another 307 damage. And gosh, Robo Player 1 has done a significant amount this game already. 3,204 kills? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this 150mm can be effective. But is it really going to cut it against Tier 10 tanks? Well, let's not worry about that now. Let's worry about what Robo's doing here. He tries to fire clutch at the T-29, unable to get him, and gosh, this tank makes a KV-3 look like a little baby. Oh my word, this thing is crazy. Absolute ridiculous vehicle. So, by having that 50% greater rate of fire on this 150mm, it does seem to dish out the punishment a lot more frequently than you do on the Tier 6. But that's not the only gun that you can use on this tank. You can also choose to use 105mm. Oh, the heat round bounce there, 150mm, a very expensive bounce there for RoboPlayer, denying him that 700 damage he wanted on the Tier 7 Soviet heavy tank. So you can use 105mm on this vehicle. And another heat round there, another 150mm shell that was unable to go through the tracks and the side armor of the IS-3. So, Robo, will you give me a chance to talk about this 105mm? It's very interesting because it's got 215mm of penetration, which isn't too bad for a Tier 8 heavy tank. A T-32 has 15mm less than that, as an example. However, there are some Tier 8 heavies, for example the IS-3, that get 226mm penetration, I believe, so I guess 215 is a little low. But the main thing that really annoys me about that gun on the OHO, that 105mm, is that it can't fire premium rounds. 300 damage with the high explosive, 150mm in there. So, because you can't use premium rounds on that 105mm, when you get into a bad matchup anyway, you're not going to be able to contest most Tier 9 and Tier 10 tanks. So maybe the 150mm is the way to go. Did you see just how bad the gun depression was there on the OHO? And when we see RoboPlayer 1 go into sniper mode, you can see that he can barely see over the cupola of the tank here. So what is he going to do? He's going to turn the tracks to the side, and let's just pause that for a second and see what happened. When he turned his tracks to the side, his gun was now able to depress past these two little mini turrets that you see over the tank to be able to get more gun depression to engage his opponents. So if you're fighting a Japanese heavy tank, especially an OHO, try and make sure that you keep the front of their tank if you're trying to face hug them. If they try and turn their tank to the side, they're going to be able to depress their gun and be able to shoot into you. Whereas they have terrible gun depression over these mini turrets here. And one that's smack in the middle, maybe slightly actually. No, it's not even in the middle. It's slightly slanted off to the left. And the other one, what an awkward system for using gun depression. What a weird tank, eh? I guess it takes some getting used to. Something that RoboPlayer 1 seems to have already nailed in his first few games in this tank, considering it's only recently been released. So, RoboPlayer 1 is having a cracking round here. 4,000 damage and 5 kills. Can he push on to be able to take down this T-29? T-29 doesn't seem to be too happy about it. Right into the mantlet of the T-29, still doing 377 damage. Gosh, these 150mm high explosive rounds, they're just as devastating at Tier 8 as they are at Tier 6. But obviously, now everyone's got a lot more hit points. You have to shoot them a lot more. And maybe RoboPlayer is getting quite lucky here. Now, he's bouncing a lot of rounds off the side of his tank here. And it's a Scorpion that's trying to shoot him from the location up here. He's bounced a lot of AP rounds. And now we start to hear that sizzle. As RoboPlayer bombs it around the corner, finishes off the Tier 8 Soviet heavy tank, picking up a top gun. And he's reloaded, hopefully just in time to be able to penetrate the T-29. So having brushed aside the T-29 in spectacular fashion with a lovely flanking maneuver, now RoboPlayer 1 finds himself 1 versus 2. Oh gosh, another heat round hits his tank going straight through from the Scorpion. And when you've only got 565 hit points left, you can't afford to take too many more rounds like that. Now, where is this Black Prince? Is he where he left him earlier on in the game? I remember he was trying to peer over the ridgeline at the OHO. And indeed, that's where the Black Prince is. And check out the gun depression over the side of this tank. It's not that bad. Over the side, when you're not aiming over the gun turrets, you can depress the gun quite well. I have no idea how that one only did 37 damage, leaving the Black Prince on a smidgen of his hit points. But the last one finishes him off. 8 kills, Radley Walters secured. Oh, a heat round hits the dead KV-3 right next to him. RoboPlayer 1 very fortunate about that. Oh, and another heat round goes straight through the armor. Butters it. That 275 millimeters of heat penetration on the Scorpion is enough to make even the thick armor of the Oho very, very, very useless indeed. And I just wonder what's going to happen when an Oho gets into a matchup where there are quite a lot of tier 9 tanks or quite a lot of tier 10 tanks. Is it going to struggle, especially using this 150mm gun? Well, I'll have to wait until I get one of these tanks myself and play around with it to see what we can get. The Scorpion hits him again. Where is he? Where is that Scorpion? He must be behind the trees, surely. There he is. He takes a snapshot, and I can't believe that hit. Let's take a look at just how small of a shot that was. With a full turret turn and no pre-aiming, that was absolutely ridiculous with this horrendously derpy gun. Look at this shot. Oh my word, RoboPlay, you are a very lucky guy that that one flew true straight into the Scorpion. And how ridiculous that the Scorpion fired a shell that came back at you. Oh, it's because the Scorpion got set on fire! How ridiculous! So the shell didn't quite manage to one-shot the Scorpion, but damaged his tank enough on the inside to set him on fire, and what a fitting end for you two to both take each other down. That Scorpion must be cursing his luck indeed. What a crazy end to this game. So RoboPlayer 1, congratulations to you, buddy, on a fantastic round. You fought until the end, doing a huge amount of damage and picking up 9 kills as well. You tested this tank to its limit, and I think that we found the limit is about 275mm of penetration. Let's just take a very quick look at the post-game stats. So apparently the Oho is RoboPlayer 1's favorite tank, and I can see why after a crazy game like that. He got the Radley Walter medals for his 9 kills and unsurprisingly a high caliber medal. That was 2,035 base experience points in a tier 8 heavy. That's a lot for his 5,774 damage done. His armor held up really well here, blocking 4,270, giving him a total potential damage received of over 6,000. And it was really only when the Scorpion started firing those 275mm penetration heat rounds that the armor started to really fail. And even though RoboPlayer 1 did fire a few heat rounds, he still made a very cool 42,000 credits profit for this absolute monster 10-minute round. And so it looks like the Oho really is a beast, but I'm still not sure about whether I want to use the 150mm gun on this tank. Fair enough, it's so good when you have those lightly armored tanks, when you're in a top tier matchup. That 330 alpha damage, 105mm with 215 pen, and a fairly okay rate of fire of 6.45 rounds a minute will be so much better when you have to shoot maybe higher tier targets in the front or the side, which is also more accurate and has lower aim time than using that 150mm. One thing seems for sure, and that you guys are absolutely loving these new Japanese tanks. And if you have any killer games of your own, then please upload them onto replays.QuickyBaby.com and have a chance to be featured on the channel. And so RoboPlayer 1, thank you so much for submitting me this replay. I found it very interesting to see what the armor capabilities are of the Oho, and to see just how far you can take that 150mm Japanese derp gun. And I'd be really interested to know your opinion, RoboPlayer 1, about how this gun fares up when you do have to deal with higher tier tanks. And if you have any replays of it performing against higher tier tanks, please do submit them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving it a like down below. It really helps the channel out. And if you want to see how this 150mm gun performs on the tier 6 Japanese heavy tank that I like to call Big Mama, then simply click through up here and you can go through to a monster round on Runeberg by Galax Ruta. And why not come along on the live stream tonight? I think me, Phil, and Ike are all going to be playing in Japanese heavy tanks. It should be a blast. And if not, I'm going to be playing the brand new Tier 7 American Premium Tank Destroyer, the Scorpion, so you can find out what all the fuss is about. And as always, guys, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.